Jokey got the sauce, bitch.
Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Another Honda themed video, I'm afraid. I'm saying that like it's a bad thing, but it's not. You join me here with the standard EP3. Again, Honda have given me a car for a week. Thank you very much. And of course, we have the famous Mr. Miyagi as well. And today's video is not going to be reviewing this. It's actually going to be reviewing both of them. And what I mean by that is we're going to talk about the features that I have on mine that are different to the standard car. And obviously a lot of you guys wanted to know what I've actually done to this car. So I thought, it's a perfect time to compare both cars together. So without further ado, let's get started. So firstly, let's start with the engine because that's the most important thing with these cars. And this is, as you know, standard completely from its standard airbox, standard inlet manifold, standard cams, everything. Yeah, this makes 200 brake horsepower, around 190 foot-pounds of torque. So yeah, never destined to be the quickest thing ever. But as you know, the K20 A2 that's in this thing is an absolute dream. But what's mine like? So now we move on to Mr. Miyagi's engine. So the engine itself is pretty much standard. I've done nothing to the cams, pistons, nothing, that's all standard. And they are pretty much strong. You can actually take these to around 400 or 500 brake, I think, without actually doing any standard internals. Well, changing them anyway, but don't quote me on that. But yeah, moving on. My inlet manifold is far from standard. That is actually a Skunk 2 Pro inlet manifold. So it actually came with the car when I bought it. Along with the Tegua airbox. So this is actually a carbon copy of the Group M one, which pretty much most people know. But these are a lot cheaper and do the exact same thing. Other than that, yeah, I've got a strut brace too, to basically give you better rigidity in corners. So yeah, other than that, the car is actually not too much different to the standard EP3. I just fettled with little bits. Oh, actually, of course, I've got a remap on this thing. So the remap itself takes it to about 230 brake with, I think, around maybe 215 foot-pounds. So not miles and miles of difference between the standard car and this. But yeah, I'm looking actually to do another remap to take that up to around 250, because apparently this is capable of doing it with all the mods that I've got on it. So yeah, if you haven't already seen my dyno video, you can check that out on the right top corner. But yeah, that's pretty much the engine side covered. Let's move on to the exterior. So the exterior of the standard EP3 is actually not much different to Mr. Miyagi, but I'm going to talk about them anyway. Let's start with the colour. This is Cosmic Grey, one of Honda's metallic colours that you could choose from. And I think it's the best colour for your EP3 Civic Type R, if you ask me. Of course, if you follow me on Instagram, you already know that Mr. Miyagi used to be Cosmic Grey too. Again, I just think it's the best colour ever. And of course, it's complemented with Honda's OEM 17-inch alloys, which again, set the car off perfectly. But yeah, other than that, the EP3 has always been quite a sedated looking car. It's not really too flashy. You wouldn't even know that this has 200 brake horsepower. You just think it's a normal Civic. But yeah, let's now get on to Mr. Miyagi and see what differences are there. So, moving to the exterior of Mr. Miyagi, and if you don't know already, I changed the colour. Well, you can pretty much see it already. And this colour is made by Hexis, and it's called Intense Blue. But without talking about the colour too much, because you can check it out in the top right hand corner of me revealing the car last Christmas, in fact. But yeah, moving on from that, I've also got this carbon fibre bonnet from Tegua. Just helps break up the colour a little bit more. And of course, I get carbon fibre. Who doesn't like carbon fibre? Moving on from that, we've got the wheels. Again, I've kept the wheels from the standard EP3, but I decided to spruce them up a bit and give them a bronze paint job. I quite like it. What do you guys think? I'll leave a poll for you to tell me your thoughts. And also, I've got a sun strip made, just because sun strip, Jap life, whatever you call it. It also just helps with sun, makes a miles improvement from just using your sun visors. And lastly, other than that, I added a carbon wing as well. It's actually a replica of, I think it's the Mugen. Yeah, it's a replica of the Mugen carbon fibre. As you guys know, Mugen is an absolute fortune. So obviously, thank God for companies making hooky versions. There's no difference, it's just the price is the difference. That's pretty much it. So yeah, other than that, yeah, it still looks like an EP3, just a little bit more spicier. So, moving on from the exteriors of both cars, I've now jumped in to the EP3, the standard one in fact, to show you the differences of the interior. I can't wait to show you Mr. Miyagi. But before we do, I have to talk about this EP3. So this is the Premier Edition, and it was one of the last variants of the EP3 Civic Type R, and we was gracefully given these beautiful black and red Recaro seats, and they have so much support from just the top of the bolsters all the way to the bottom, and of course they've got loads of cushion as well, so you can actually do long distance journeys in this thing. And also we have red carpet. Who doesn't like a red carpet in a sporty Type R? And one thing that my EP3 doesn't have, well, it doesn't have carpets or seats. Well, it does have seats in fact, but bucket seats. It also has a CD player, which mine doesn't. Mine's just a great giant hole. But yeah, I've actually never seen one of these Honda CD players before, and there's also a sat nav that they offered as an optional extra, so that's pretty funny. But yeah, other than that, I mean, the interior of these cars was never the best. I mean, they're just really cheap and nasty. But as I said in my previous video, with the FK8 and the EP3, Honda never concentrated on their interior because they were too busy on more important things. But yeah, saying that, let's move to Mr. Miyagi. Haha! So we now move on to Mr. Miyagi's interior. Well, what's left of it anyway, because this thing is absolutely gutted out. I've got no door cards, no carpet, well, half a side of a carpet because I haven't been bothered to chop out the rest of it. No headlining, a different steering wheel, a massive roll cage that takes up every little bit of space in this car. Yeah, let's talk about some few things. So yeah, the steering wheel. This is actually not standard anymore. This is actually an OMP suede steering wheel, and it's just got a better feel to it when I'm on track days, when I wear race gloves. When you're holding it, you just got a lot more grip in comparison to the standard level one. And of course, how can I forget this roll cage? So this roll cage is made by a company called SW Motorsport, and if you haven't heard of them, they actually are heavily involved with the Civic Cup Championship. Also, they provide these cages for obviously the Civics, but they also race in the Civic Cup as well, so check them out. They also do wicked deals on these things. They're actually pretty cheap. I think for a full cage they were actually around, I can't remember what I paid, about maybe £750, £800. Don't quote me on that. Have a look, check them out. And also I bought these bucket seats from Corbo, if that's how you pronounce them. Anyway, I don't know how to pronounce them, but yeah, if I got it right, whee. But yeah, these seats are called Club Sports, and they are pretty much bang on identical to the Recaro pole positions. And unlike them, these things are quite cheap, considering these are about £210 plus, including VAT, sorry. Whereas the pole positions are actually almost around £700. So it's a big difference, and pretty much all you're paying for is the FIA and tooth approved certificates on them, whereas these haven't got any of that on them. But if you're using it for a track day, which I do, then these are, look no further, these are the best things to go for. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it with my standard, well, with my EP3. Nothing like a standard one, but yeah, it just shows you how much, well, when I drive that anyway, when I drive the standard EP3, it just shows you how much you're missing the car, because this, you wouldn't think you're driving an EP3 when you get in this. But yeah, let's move on to the boot and have a laugh at that as well. And now you join me in the boot of the standard EP3, and considering that this is a hot hatch, the boot is pretty good. Of course it would be. It's based on a Civic, and Civics are pretty much practical no matter the generation. But yeah, as you can see, it fits a full-size Chris quite comfortably. And of course you can fit rings around me, but yeah, you don't want to make me too uncomfortable. But yeah, let's now see what Mr. Miyagi's like. This is going to be a good one. So, here we are in Mr. Miyagi's boot. And if you ask me, I've actually done a pretty good job, because I've actually made this more practical with space in this back than compared to the standard one. Yes, I know I've got the roll cage behind me and actually makes no real difference, but look at me, I can actually sit down in this thing. All I need is a beer. And speaking of beers, well, this is not related to beers, I thought I'd actually include that I've got a completely different suspension to the standard Civic, and in this I have a full-blown race suspension from Yellow Speed. Of course, if you haven't heard of them, Yellow Speed's the Civic Cup's mandatory suspension to use when they're racing, and they can't use anything else. So that's one reason why I opted to get this, not only because I was contemplating doing Civic Cup, which is probably out the window now, is also yellow speed suspension is actually the most tried and tested of the Civic, pretty much, because they race it every year. I think Civic Cup's been going for about 5-6 years now. So yeah, it's pretty much a no-brainer. But yeah, other than that, I think I should give myself a pat on the back for how practical I've made this in the back. Yes, of course, no one will ever sit in the boot like how I'm doing, but yeah, give me some credit, guys. Come on. So there we have it, guys. A nice, short and sweet comparison against a standard EP3 to a modified EP3. And I was actually going to do a full-blown review on this, but then I actually took a second to think, actually, no, there's already too many reviews on this thing, and quite frankly, I'm just going to repeat myself. So instead, I thought of this idea, and plus, a lot of you guys have already asked me what I've actually done to Mr. Miyagi, so I thought it was actually a good idea to tie both cars into this video. So yeah, other than that, a big thank you for watching, and again, I really do appreciate the support, but make sure you do like and subscribe, and just keep an eye out on some more Honda content, because there's definitely going to be some more. But until then, thanks for watching, take care guys, see you later.